Shifting political alliances in the country appear to defy logic, with those condemned as enemies now warming up to each other. Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and Prime Minister Raila Odinga are said to be in discussions for a possible alliance. Tonight, our spotlight falls on the two leaders. Will they come together? Here is Sam Ogina with Succession 2013.
The political rotors are still roaring in readiness for takeoff as the big names search for the elusive pre-election deal. And with barely a month left to the deadline of depositing coalition agreements with the electoral body, panic is setting in that even the super alliance is crumbling in the turbulence.
Hii muungano mnasikia mimi nimekataa. Mimi sitaki muungano wa watu wawili kukaa ndani ya nyumba na kuamua wewe utakuwa bwana na mimi nitakuwa bibi. Hiyo kitu haiwezekani. Ndoa ya kanisa, ndoa ya waki ni kanisani, padri akiwa pale aunganisha wawili. Lakini hao wanajichagua wawili, mtakataa au mtakubali?
Everybody is running around to strike that deal that could enhance their chances of being part of the next government. And with Kalonzo's friends busy avoiding him, he seems to be gradually warming up to the possibility of reuniting with the political enemy in the name of Raila Odinga.
As a Kenyan that aspires to lead this nation, I am and will always remain open to dialogue. But as I've said, dialogue must also be above suspicion and indeed structured.
But therein lies some doubts attributed to competing interests and mutual suspicion. Can a Raila Kalonzo deal fly them to State House?
How do you form an alliance with Kalonzo? His value proposition politically is zero. It's absolutely nothing that he'll bring to you. He becomes a liability in that respect.
As Kalonzo tries to deal with his troubles in the G7 alliance, Prime Minister Raila Odinga is also fighting his own battle for survival.
There never was a G7. G7 was the pigment of the imagination and the illusions of a few politicians who like to be cheated, like Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa. They like to be cheated that it will happen. There never was a G7. Originally, what we had was G2. William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Of the two, one considered half incumbent and the other the vice president, the assumption will be it will be easier for either of them to assume power than to be toppled from top. But is such the case?
Raila Odinga is condemned to the myth of Sisyphus. This is a man that was condemned by the gods to roll a stone up the hill, and before the stone flips over to the other side, it rolls back. Raila has rolled the stone to State House, and just before it tips, it rolls back. We saw him do that in 2002 when he formed the coalition with Kibaki. 2007 he actually had, maybe he won, we don't know who won, but the stone didn't tip to the other side.
Despite angling towards formation of an alliance between Raila and Kalonzo, observers say the Prime Minister squandered his chance to succeed President Mwai Kibaki by undermining the president in numerous occasions. And consequently, Raila has received so much flack from the president's henchmen that could derail his presidency.
Vizingiti ziliwekwa mbele yake. Yeye mwenyewe amejaribu kufanya kikatiba. Na mara mingi anasema ya kwamba kuna watu wenye wanachochea na wanajaribu kuhakikisha ya kwamba asifanye venye sheria inamhitaji.
Raila has a problem with judgment. And the WikiLeaks revealed that from the closest friends that he has, who say he has a serious judgment problem. If Raila Odinga had stayed on with Mwai Kibaki after the 2002 election, and he had stuck with him, you know, the way he had begun, without forming rebellion against him, we would actually be asking IEBC not to hold this election, because we know who the president is supposed to be.
But most importantly, can Raila use his premier position in the coalition government as a springboard for his presidential ambition? There is no consensus among analysts whether Raila's performance in government will be a boon or a bane for his re-election bid.
What has Raila done with the half a loaf he was given? Did he eat it? Or where did he take it? And that's a big campaign question that he has to answer. We have not seen the fruits of the nusu mukate he speaks about, apart from the nusu carpets that we see him rolling around with and the bravado around him. We don't know what he did with the half a loaf. He has to tell us where it is, what he did with it, or like in the Bible, did he bury it under the ground?
I think you can describe the Prime Minister as an incumbent, but an incumbent without the complete control of the state machinery, the way other incumbents all over the world are. But still, he is looked at as an incumbent, and that is the reason why you see the ganging up is against him.
That the Prime Minister's usual refrain is that he has not had a fair chance to implement policies that will showcase his agenda for Kenya is not contested.
Although the sharing was supposed to be 50-50, I think because of the hurried manner in which the coalition was put in place, ODM ended up with the short end of the stick. So yes, it's a coalition government, but I think the PNU wing of the coalition still has control most of the state machinery.
Whenever Kibaki and Raila met on negotiation, Raila was always cheated. So whom do we blame? He had the constitutional instruments to implement whatever he wanted to implement, including his policies, all embedded in the constitution. But he did not do it. Kibaki was given 50% of the shares, plus the presidency. Look at what he has done with it. Whom do we blame? We can't blame Kibaki for bullying Raila. We blame Raila for agreeing to be bullied.
The same odds that have worked against the Prime Minister in government may have spilled into his ODM party. The giant party has suffered a wave of defections that was set off by the exit of Eldoret North MP William Ruto and a host of others then labelled rebel ODM leaders. Since then, the party is surviving the hemorrhage.
Because at that particular time, elections appeared to be far away, you can say that the PM and ODM did not do enough when this peeling off started. And therefore, in a way, William Ruto had a field day in trying to mobilize the Kalenjin community, specifically against the PM and ODM. And to an extent, you can say that impacted on the ground, and the kind of following that the PM had in 2007 was watered down.
To his credit, Raila carries the reform agenda placard for fighting for the new constitution. On numerous occasions, the PM has successfully fought presidential appointments of officers to various constitutional bodies that were deemed to be unconstitutional.
Are we now saying that this country will not move unless Raila says something is going to happen? This cannot be acceptable. Consultation must be consultation and must be respect for all parties, including the president. And this is not an acceptable position, and if indeed this is the way it's going to go, it therefore means that we also then have to take whatever means that we take to ensure that executive authority is also respected. Otherwise, this country is not going to move forward.
Him being part of the government has kind of made PNU not be able to act with impunity. He has been the check and balance, or ODM has been the check and balance.
And as Raila and Kalonzo probably opened doors to coalition talks, the two share the common denominator of being top-notch leaders in the coalition government. Given Eldoret North MP William Ruto's rejection of Raila's proposal and subsequent cold shoulder Uhuru and Ruto have given Kalonzo, the political matrix is bound to change. Sam Ogina for Succession 2013.